Hey y'all, I am doing the one-man band thing today, and this is going to be a little bit different. This is a test, and so anytime I do a test, I try and do one live video where I show you a full iteration of what it actually looks like. And so we are actually doing the iron test, and this will be a fun one because I have 20 different irons. Well, I have 17 right now in stock. I have 20 that are total I'm going to be coming. And we're actually going to be testing all of them and finding out how good they are. Now, if you want to see the video where I actually talk through the entire test and what my parameters are, I have, actually I didn't put a link to that down below, but it's one of the most recent ones. And I put it on this video and the main channel. Actually, no, I just put it on this channel. My brain's not with me today. So today we're going to be doing one full run through on one of the irons. If you want to see the whole list of irons that I've been working on, there's a link to that. It's not linked, but they're all listed down in the description. Those are the irons that I have right now. There's 3 more that I'm hoping to get in, but we'll see how that goes. The one we're doing today is the Hawk Iron Cryogenic, so the A2 Cryogenic Steel. So this is one I've been wanting to try. This one is designed for a number 3 or a 5 1/4. Which is what I'm going to be using today to do this. So I'm going to try and keep an eye on the live. No, Sarah is not here. She is at work today, unfortunately. So if you do get a question, I'll try and answer them. Otherwise, if you throw up a super chat, that makes it a little easier to see. I can see super chats popping up. But other than that, we're going to go through what all we need to do. Now, most of my irons. About half of them are fresh from the factory, haven't been used before. About half of them are used. So I've been getting them either from someone else who has one I can borrow, or they're ones out of my stock that I've been using. This one is fresh from the factory, so I probably could use it because it is relatively sharp. It actually feels, I would use it. It feels really, really sharp. So we're actually going to be sharpening it again because I want to have all of them to have the exact same edge from the same place at the same angle. So we are sharpening them all to 35 degrees. Why 35 degrees? Because that is a really good plane angle from what I've seen in the past. And so we're going to be doing that on here. I may end up taking a couple of them and doing this whole test again at different angles to find out, do they perform differently at different angles and how well is that? But for right now, these are all going to be 35. So I have this set up with the highest grit. And it helps if I plug it in. For some reason, power tools don't like my shop. It's the only reason I purchased this Work Sharp is because I want to do the test. I really don't use it for much anything else. So let's get this thing going. Okay, this was last sharpened to about 30 degrees or so. Want to keep it cool, don't want to ruin the edge. There. And if they were at a different angle, I take them back a little ways, probably back about an 1/8 inch or so on the iron, just to make sure it's good and solid. There. That's all I need on that grit. Let's turn it over and do another grit. So if there's anything anyone wants to see, this is a Work Sharp. I generally do not use this for much of anything in the shop other than tests where I want exactly the same thing on all of them. That's good. And then we'll go up one more grit. Nice and shiny. Then this last one is like 3,000 grit, but I've got a bit of a buffing compound on there as well, so it actually shines up pretty nicely. After this, I then take it over and actually strop it. Just to final clean off that burr. 2, 1. Ooh, that's pretty. Okay. Now, So we'll actually strop it. Strop it. Strop it good. Horse butt. Because only the finest horse butt from my shop. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Flip it over. 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. And that burr is gone. And that's sharp. That is crazy, crazy sharp. So we're actually going to be using the best certified sharp electronic. We're using this quite a bit. And this has a tiny little filament here. Actually, let me switch over to this one. This has a tiny filament that is a very precisely measured cut strength. And so I'll measure how much force it actually takes to cut this. Set it on here, center it out, zero out the machine. Making sure there's no comments on there. So then we bring this in. I was going to make a test stand to bring this in, but I find I really don't need it. 142. That is incredibly sharp. Basically, anything under 200 is really sharp. About the sharpest you can possibly get steel is a little bit under 100. So if I were to spend some time on this and strop it down, I probably could get it down to around 110, maybe down to 100. But 142 is good. So I've got my chart here, and our starting cut is 142. So what you're going to see me here do today is do 400 curls, 400 strokes. And every 40, originally was going to do 20, but I found out it wasn't quite enough. It wasn't changing fast enough. So every 40, I'm going to stop and test it again, and then that will let me know. Then I'm also going to be eyeballing basically how thick my shaving is. And a lot of people are like, ooh, eyeballing, that's really not. But the most accurate thing I can do is then come through and measure the board, so I know how much shavings I've taken off. And so it should end up being around 1.5 inches worth of wood that I'm taking off. So right now, right on the end of this board, it is 4.113. Write that down. Starting is 4.113. Right on the board, 4.113. And then I'll measure it afterwards. I'll know exactly how much material I've taken off. And so far my tests have shown that eyeballing it gives me really, really accurate. It's about 1.5 inches that comes off. It's within a few hundredths. So that's what we're doing. See if there's any questions on here. Nope. Cool. So let's set this plane up. Now I'm using a standard, the Stanley Bailey chip breaker on them. And I'm keeping the chip breaker back so it's really not affecting the cut much. I'm keeping it back at like a good 1/16 inch or more away from the edge. And we can tighten it down. A little bit closer than that. Tightens it down. Here we go. Not quite that much. Maybe not quite that much. Having issues with this one. Don't let it touch the tip. Don't let it touch the tip. There you go. Why are you sliding forward? It is gripping that iron quite well. Something to do with a new iron. There we go. Really crank it down because I don't want it to move. There. Now we can set this in. Do you, James, now I have Devo stuck in my head. Oh, sorry. So if you have questions, throw them in there. I'll look them up as we come. A lot of this is going to be me talking to myself. Where to put my chip breaker, or my cap iron? Lever cap, there's the word. Okay, this one's going to need to be run down. Not that far. You may be hearing the kids, they're doing school upstairs. And 40 strokes, here we go. Something's wrong there. First setup is always a little bit different. And of course, the one I show is the one that's having problems. I think I might have to sharpen this again, just because I may have hit it. Oh yeah, I did. Shoot. I nicked it with the chip breaker. I'm putting it together. So let's take it back and sharpen it again. Want to make sure that they're all done exactly the same. So we've got to take off a little bit of material, go back to the coarse grit, do it all over again. Once the chip breaker is on there the first time, I don't mess with it. Put some water on it to keep it cool. A little more to get past that nick. There, I got it. Tiny little thing. Question, are you using the same plane with all blades? No, I'm going to end up using 3 different planes. Because I can't always get all of the irons in the same size. So the ones that I get that are size 3 are going in my Stanley Bailey 5 1/4. The ones that are size 4 are going in my 4. And then I have one that is the Harbor Freight, which is its own weirdo. And then I have the wooden plane because I'm doing one Sheffield iron. But other than that, they're all going in those planes. Lots of Knights of the White Oak in here today. Which is a good time. And if you don't know what the Knights of the White Oak are, you should come out on Tuesday when we do lives. That's what I'm looking for. Flip it over. Almost. Just going until I get rid of the scratches from the previous one. Yes, the Lee Nielsen blades will fit in an old Bailey pattern plane. The actually Lee Nielsen's design, Lee Nielsen bases all of their planes off of the standard bedrock Stanley Bailey plane. So they are very switchable. It'll be fun with some of these because a couple of them are incredibly thick, which is often an issue because then the yoke can't always come back and fit through into the chip breaker. Here. Now this time I'm actually going to test it after putting the chip breaker on, just in case there's any issue with that. So let's put the chip breaker on. And I'm using the same chip breaker on all of them. And I'm keeping it a good ways away so that it's not affecting the cut at all. There. Now let's do the test. My hickory is actually locally sourced, and I'm pulling it all from the same tree. So all the hickory is from the same tree, the same, it'll actually all come from 2 boards that were right next to each other in the tree. I'm going to be milling out, I'm going to be turning about a little over 5 board feet worth of hickory into curls. So it should be kind of interesting. So here is the test. $136. So let's scratch out that one. 136, which is really close to what it was before. Last time it was 142, so right where we want it to be, in the butter zone. Make sure it goes in. Tight, and adjust it back. And I'm feeling where the blade is so we get a consistent cut. There we go. Now let's do 40 shavings. Hey, that's better. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Leaning one side. Because I'm taking so many shavings, it's very easy for it to cut more on one side than the other. And then every now and then I get one of those, doesn't count because it didn't hit the middle of the blade. Yeah. Some wax make this go a little bit easier. Oh, love that. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. It's amazing what wax does. It just makes everything so much easier. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. So 40 strokes on there. I can pull it out, being very careful not to touch the tip. One out. And where did that tile go? Let's put that here. So I can set it down on that. Making sure there's no, not doing a micro bevel. The micro bevel actually has absolutely no benefit to how the plane cuts. I know a lot of people will claim that it makes it better, it makes it stiffer. It has no bearing on how the plane cuts. It just makes it faster to sharpen if you do it that way, in some cases. So we are doing them all at 35 degrees. So turn this on, zero it out. Let's see if we have a change so far. Probably not. $153. A little bit more, but not much. You know where the Christmas ornament shavings? Yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of shavings when this is done. So what I did there was 1/10 of one test, and I'll be doing 3 tests on each iron over 20 irons. So 24,000 shavings. Where's that? There it goes. Lateral adjuster moved on me. There we go. There we go. Right back to where we were. Just a hair more. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Go a little bit to that side. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. So 80 strokes so far out of the 400 to do. And let's set this back up. If you're just using one arm, you're doing it wrong. Both arms are needed to make the cut. And I usually feel it just as much I do in one arm as I do in the other. But if I'm feeling it, it either means I did a lot that day or I'm doing it wrong. So let's see what we got today. 206. That was a big jump. But usually there's a variance of like 50 or 60 in this, unless I do a whole bunch of each setting. But I'm going to end up doing, 30 tests? No, I'm going to do 33 tests per iron. So inaccuracies will disappear with that amount. And good. And back to it. That was thicker than it should have been. It's thinner than it should have been, so let's split the difference. There we go. 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 2, missed the side, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 38, 39, 40. There we go. And for those of you recently tuning in, I'll be testing, rather than measuring every shaving, I'm going to measure the total amount removed from the board at the end of the full run. And that will, because eyeballing it, I get really close. And so far my tests have shown that that's pretty spot on accurate. And so my total removal of the board is usually right around 1.5 inches. So let's find out where we're at. Using a hand plane is the same as stretching. I guess if it's done right. Let's see what this one is. $281. Wow, that went up fast. That could be a amorphous one. Usually once the blade gets to around 500, it's the point at which I generally sharpen them. It's just the resistance there is getting so much that it is a pain. But this one is actually going a little faster than some of the other ones have. Right to there. Let's do another one. Why 40 strokes? Because, well, originally I was going to be doing it 20 strokes, just as an arbitrary number to figure out. But I found there wasn't enough change, and it was introducing more noise into the scale. So I bumped it from 20 strokes up to 40 strokes. And that has shown pretty well. It removes a little bit of the noise, and you get a much cleaner curve. So it just kind of averages it out a little bit better. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 27, 28, 9, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. 200 strokes so far, so halfway through. Halfway through of one test on one iron. Yeah, I got a lot of this to do. Let's see what this one breaks at. It wouldn't surprise me if this one's like 160, and to be a little bit lower than the last one because it's within that variance. The last one's a bit high, but who knows? It might be more. Wow, 320. It's going up fast. So let's do 40 more. So I guess your guess of 300 was close. So halfway through this one. There we go. Add a bit more wax. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 24. I have to say them out loud, otherwise I miss track. And there's nothing worse than trying to remember where I was at. 25, 6, 7, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. Place your bets, place your bets. The Hawk Iron Cryogenic Steel. Last one was 320. Let's see what this one is. Set up new clean filament. Yeah, this filament is not cheap, but well worth it. Oops, wrong button. Let's turn it on, not off. Booting up. Let's see, here we go. My guess is 315. 324. Oh, you're all too high. Okay. 4, wait. 1, 2. Oh, no, that was halfway. Shoot. I was counting wrong. That's the reason I wrote it down. So now we're halfway through. Now we've done 200 shavings so far. Back to the grindstone. 1, 2, 3. Didn't hit the middle. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. Okay, place your bets. Place your bets. Last was 324. What is this one? I'm going to say... I'm going to go something wild and say 320. Because there was a fast uptick, so I'm guessing it's leveling out a bit now, but who knows? It's one of the fun things about science. You never get quite what you expect. But if you do it right, you find what's right, what's actual, what's real, something of that nature. Woofa! 372. Let's see, what do we get? 327, 357, 250, 315. Wow. Almost everyone was low this time. 4 more sets. So right now I'm trying to do 4 full tests a day. So that's 1 1/3 irons done each day. So that comes out to, what was it? 17 days worth of work. So it's going to be a while before this test is fully done. But when it is, we'll have lots of data points. Lots and lots and lots of data points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23,
34.
5, 26, 7,
8.
9, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 5, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Okay, let's see what we get this time. Last one was 372. This is the first test I've done so far where every number has been higher than the last, which is nice. It's a good clean data. I like good clean data. $401, $410, $407, $413, $403, $420. My guess is going to be $350. What? $305. $305. That one's way out. That's anytime I get a number that's like way out, I'll write it down to keep track of it. But usually that means I let the plane slide or something of that nature. But I'll do a second number just to test. Make sure that we are what we say we are. 305 is a bit outside of the standard deviation there. There we go, 380. But if I do make multiple measurements, I do capture the data so I can have it. Because if you lose data, it's not as trustworthy. So 380. Yeah, and don't be surprised if the number drops, because usually the deviation on these is give or take 40-ish. But I mean, it's average. It's a bell curve. So if you were to take the number, you're plotting on a bell curve. There's a really good chance it's close to middle, but it might have a deviation that's farther out. So yes, let's do another 40. 3 more passes. 3 more sets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oop. 6. If I have a stroke that doesn't hit the middle or goes less than halfway, I don't count it. Just whatever I do, I'm making sure it's standardized throughout all the process. 10, 11, 12, 13. It's getting a little hard to push. Part of that's because it's getting duller. 14. Oh, it's so much easier. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Okay, our last one was 380. 380. Oh, thanks, Alan. Can you move the white bucket, please? White bucket. Assuming this. Oh, is that in the way of the scale? Sorry. Here. Thanks, Alan. 380. I'm guessing this next one is going to be 405. I don't know why I make guesses, because I'm never right. At least I'll admit it when I'm not. Here, let me set this one over here. So let's do this. And I rest my hand on it so I can get a nice smooth down pressure. 380. Wow. There's some data. Back to the grindstone 2 more times. Now the Stanley Bailey iron usually hit 500 by the time I got through all 400 strokes. And what was the other one I did? Was it Tay Tools? I think Tay Tools was pretty close to that too. There we go. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And some of you may notice, I'm stopping at 20 for a moment. Some of you may notice that I'm occasionally adjusting the lateral adjuster. That's because no matter how accurate you set it one way or the other, when you're doing multiple passes over and over and over again, little tiny bits slowly will increment twisting one way or the other. And so usually I'll have it twisting one way, and I'll move the lateral adjuster a little ways, and it'll start twisting back the other way. And so that way I can make sure I'm staying really close to level as I go down. But it requires little movements there and there. So we're at 20, 21, 22, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 7, 38, 39. It's just starting to get hard to push. Which usually it's the indication that I'm getting dull. So our last one was 380. Let's see what we got this time. Fantasy football has nothing on betting on plane sharpnesses. Okay. 355. Nice. So it's really stayed pretty level for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, last 150 to 200 shavings. Just sign of a good iron, because that's one of the things. Let me switch over this. That's one of the things I'm really looking forward is most every plane blade, when you sharpen it all the way to its infinity sharpness, it's going to get dull really quickly from that sharpness. But it'll get to a spot where it just kind of stays there for a while and then slowly gets worse. So that's the thing I'm really looking for. Who gets to that point the fastest? Who gets to do it the latest? And then how long does it stay there? Although if I had to bet, I'd say the last test is probably going to be somewhere around 400. But we'll see, because it's starting to feel like it's taking some push on there. So 40 more strokes. Switch it. 2. Oop, I want to go that way. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 400. 400 strokes. Let's see what our last one was. 355. What will this last test be? I'm getting sweaty. I had to turn the air conditioning off due to recording. He is going through. No, the wax residue does not affect the angle of cut. After the first stroke, there's basically zero thickness to it. It's just into the inconsistencies of the steel. And so it does not change its movement at all. Yes, I am doing multiple tests. What you're seeing is one round. I'm going to do 3 rounds for every iron, so that I'll have an average that I can pick from. So let's see what this last one gets. $389. That one has stayed really consistent. I'm happy with that. I was not expecting it to be that good. Usually by the end of 400 strokes, they're getting up to close to 500-ish or more. So that one's doing pretty well. So that was the Hawk cryogenic steel. It'll be interesting trying the rest of them. So I can set this one aside. I have to take one final piece of measurement, because the one thing that I'm not measuring as I go is the thickness of shaving, because that can vary greatly on pressure and focus. And so what I'm doing is eyeballing thickness individually, which I can get relatively close. And then I'm going to measure the board before and after, and have a mark to set it on. So it was 4.113 last time, and now it is 2.937. So 2.937. 2.937. So let's see. Okay, Google, what is 4,113 minus 2,937? $1,176. Cool. So there is our measurement on there. And then I'll be able to average out on each one and know that I've taken off this much material with 400. So I know the average thickness of shaving on that was whatever it comes out to, which I'm trying to keep it around 3,000th, maybe 4,000th, but somewhere in that range. So yeah, that is one full run. So I have to do that 2 more times for this iron, sharpening all the way through. And then I've got to do all of that 19 more times. So that's a lot of shavings. I think it was, the number is 42,000 shavings I have to do, something like that. I don't know, it was wild. But so far, yeah, that was about an hour's worth of work. So it's going to end up taking me, what is that? It came out to 60 some hours worth of work for this. And then I'm also going to be doing the sharpness testing where I run it on the plate. And so that one will be a little bit faster, but it's probably still going to be around another 20 minutes or so. So I probably get another 20 hours in that. So I'm looking at 80 to 100 hours of work to get this done. So it's going to be a while before this is out. If anyone has any questions, I can hang on for a minute and make sure everything's on here. Nice workshop. When a cowbell would be hilarious every 40. I should be the good reward at the end of 40 strokes. Ring the cowbell. Do I win shavings? Yeah, I've got a crazy pile. Well, here, let me show you. This is here, 3. This is the pile of shavings from 2 tests right here. Let me back up a little bit. This camera's kind of close. So it's a pretty decent pile. But that's 2 tests out of 3 needed for the total for 1 iron. Yeah, I measured the board to know how much material I took off through all those 400 shavings. That gives me an average of how thick the shaving was on average throughout that whole thing. Yeah, it's around 5 board feet of hickory that I'm going to turn into shavings. So it's pretty good. Unfortunately, no, I don't have a fireplace. All the shavings just go out to the dump. So, oh well. How about a raffle for the shavings? I have thought about actually selling shavings from James Wright's shop floor, but I think that's a little conceited, so I don't know if I want to do that. But it'd be fun to have a box of shavings, as if anyone can't go out and make their own, but you know, whatever. Bevel down should be 25 degrees, I think. Well, it depends on what you want to do with it. Earlier you said micro bevels don't change much. However, I recently bought a bevel up Stanley. Yes, with the bevel up, micro bevels will change the angle of attack. So it's the same as sharpening the whole thing at it. But yeah, if you're doing a low angle, stick with the 25. Don't put a micro bevel on it because you know, unless your micro bevel puts it to like 26, the whole purpose of the plane is to get that as low as possible. If you put a 30-degree bevel on it, you know, you add the bottom, you're at like 40. You're like 42 degrees active cutting, which 42 degrees is really close to the 45 of this. So putting a micro bevel on a low angle plane, like to 35 degrees, makes it effectively the same as a high angle plane. Yeah, I have thought about making some paper from the shavings, but we'll see. What dovetail saw do you use? My current main dovetail saw is one from, not that one, Bearcat Woodworking, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, lots of fun. Now, the thing with saws is people get really bent out of shape about what's the best saw. And in all honesty, it really doesn't matter. The important thing about the saw is its fit to your hand. If it feels good in your hand, that's important. The plate, the teeth, the back, they help a little bit, but they're really not that important. The actual function of the saw is dependent on the sharpening. And you're going to be the last person to sharpen it, so you can make any saw the exact same sharpness just by what you do with it. So the important thing on what you're getting is the feel of the handle. Bearcat, he made them to actually fit hand sizes, and so it's absolutely wonderful. I love that thing. I can't get the front edge straight when grinding. Don't grind. Don't do it. Don't grind your irons. Do not grind your irons. That is the fastest way to destroy an iron and ruin it permanently. Don't do it. That's one of my big pet peeves. I despise it when people grind irons. Yeah, if you're going to be redoing the bevel, find something other than a power grinder, because you're going to ruin the heat treat if you're not really careful on it. And it's hard to get them accurate unless you have a full jig set up for it. But personal pet peeve, sorry. Epoxy plus shavings, yeah. Might as well go buy some OSB. Have you used anchor planes? I'm not sure what you mean by an anchor plane. So, sorry. Would you recommend the Work Sharp? Yeah, the Work Sharp that I use here, I don't use it for my general use. I use it for tests because I know I'm getting the exact same cutting angle on every single iron, and so it is making sure that they are surgically identical from iron to iron. For my general use, this takes way too much time. It takes 4 or 5 minutes to set it out, sharpen an iron, and put it back. I can sharpen an iron in less than 30 seconds and be right back to where I was. So that's crazy fast once you learn the skill, but it takes a long time to learn the skill of hand sharpening. Free hand sharpening it's a great skill to have, but it is a skill that I can talk about it all day long, but until you actually get it and you get that muscle memory, it's not going to help you. So if you can get that skill, that's faster, and that's what I usually tell people, go for that, because once you get it, you've got it, and it's incredibly fun. The Work Sharp is a great tool. Don't get me wrong, this is fantastic, and if you want that surgical accuracy, you want the precision, the reliability, the Work Sharp is a phenomenal sharpening tool. I use it for flattening when I need to do a lot of material on the back of like a molding plane or something of that nature. It's great for that. Anchor planes are made in Sweden, copying Stanley. I'll have to look them up. I don't think I've come across that one. For sharpening, for a low angle plane sharpening less than 25, the problem with sharpening less than 25 is you're getting a very, very fine blade. And the lower angle you sharpen it at, the faster it will get dull. So yes, if you really want high-end, really fine shavings for like end grain, something like that, then yeah, you could sharpen a low-angle plane to 20 degrees or less. Just know that you're going to have to sharpen it a lot more often because it's going to get dull much faster. I actually know someone who keeps a 15-degree low-angle iron, and they use it just for their shooting board. And it cuts just, it feels so good. It's an amazing sharpness, but you shoot 2 or 3 boards and you've got to sharpen it again. Bevels on, bevel up, actually useful for crazy gain. I don't know what you mean by that. Yeah, if you have weird grain and you're using a bevel up plane, then you're going to want to actually increase the angle to something like a 45 or 50. The higher the angle on the bevel, the better it is for figured grain. The less chance you're going to be getting tear out. It takes more force to push it, but you'll actually be getting a cleaner, smoother cut to it because it's actually compressing the chip in front of the curl. The problem with bevel up planes is that they don't have a chip breaker. So because they don't have a chip breaker, they're a little bit less, they're not as good for figured grains. So just something to keep in mind. So I think, that's about it. Do you have something like this? Okay, yep, cool. So I'm gonna wrap this one up. This has been fun, but I've got to get back to making more shavings and doing a lot more of this, and I don't think you want to see 20 some hours of me doing that. Though for patrons on Patreon, I will probably be turning it on occasionally when I'm doing some of it. And also patrons and members now have access to the spreadsheet where I'm putting all the data. So as I collate information, I'll be putting the data on there. So I wait until I get like 2 or 3 irons done and then I throw it on there. So if you want to see that information early, patrons on Patreon got it. And members, I'll also put the links in there. So cool, I think I'll do it. From now, till next time, have a wonderful day.